on Keynote by Abibat Sonny. And please keep clapping until she gets here. Keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. But you look beautiful. I love your two-piece. I love your two-piece. You look so cool.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. I'd like to say it's an honor to be here, and I'll try as much as possible to say as much as I can in the time that I've been given. So I have over 13 years experience in sales, and most of it has been in IT and fintech sales. 5 years in IT sales, and about 8 years of it in fintech sales. So without further ado, I'll just go right into it. So we'll be talking about APIs and the sales of APIs and the tech behind it. I want to believe that we are all tech people, or are there any salespeople in here? Are there any salespeople in here? Or a bit of tech and business development? All right, okay, that's fine. All right, so APIs, as the name goes, is application. What it means essentially is application programming interface. And it allows, what it does is it allows softwares to communicate in a way that they give a value, a specific value to the customer or to whoever is consuming the service. Before I go into this, when you say APIs, we have 3 types of APIs: the public APIs, the internal APIs, and the vendor APIs. And for the benefit of this conversation, we'll be talking about the vendor APIs, which is the third-party APIs.
Hi, everyone. Can we please reduce the noise? It's distracting now. Can we reduce the noise, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so like I said, for the benefit of this conversation, we'll be talking about the vendor APIs, which is usually produced by the API first companies. So usually the beauty of APIs is you don't actually see the work that goes behind it. What you see is the service that you're able to use. And essentially, APIs is leveraging technology to create the desired business outcomes. So what APIs essentially allows you to do, what in modern technology ecosystem, it allows for interoperability and integration, modularity and scalability, facilitation of innovation, improved user experience. When you think of your mobile app, you're not thinking of the third-party vendor behind it. What you see is you're able to transfer money from one entity to another. You're able to pay for utility services. And so all of that it allows for innovation. And when you talk of interoperability and integration, I don't know the kind of will I say customers you provide your services to, but in terms of when you're dealing with mostly the financial services, you find out that they have a lot of tech stack that are legacy type. And so to enhance ease of integration and interoperability, a lot of them have moved into the cloud for ease of using all of these services that we have available in the API ecosystem. So we will just, having said all of this, we'll just quickly go into the sales behind APIs. When you, I don't know if you've ever had to use Shopify online. What you see is you being able to use the e-commerce platform. you don't know that, okay, so there is a symbiotic relationship between Stripe and Shopify. Stripe provides the payments, which allows Shopify accept payments. Of recent, they've also gone as far as providing treasury application that allows for their various merchants to have an account on that platform, on that same platform. But Stripe is the owner of the relationship with the banks. And so that behind the scene, all of that behind the scene, you don't get to see. And so when you're selling, in as much as you want to get this the customer to use your product, you also want to make money. And so in understanding how to make money, there are very important points you need to take note of. You need to understand the environment of the customer. And when I say understand, take for instance, you're going into a bank. You probably want to sell maybe your mobile banking application. You need to understand why they want a mobile banking app. You need to understand the design they're looking at, the stakeholders within that account, within the bank you're approaching. You need to understand all of that. And once you understand the layout, that is the stakeholder layout, it's very easy for you to sell your services to them. And of course, understanding the benefit your mobile banking app will bring to the bank, to the bank's teaming customers. So a lot of it is, when you look at the kind of services you get from your mobile app, from the comfort of your homes, you can move money from yourself to various people. You can buy utility services, data, power, PHCN bills, pay for your DSTV, and what have you, and pay for airtime, pay for your lifestyle services from the comfort of your home. So that in itself, it gives you the improved customer service. In terms of the business outcome, for every time you do all of those services, the bank earns a fee, and the API first company also earns a fee. So usually you go into that partnership having an SLA kind of agreement with the customer so that you're not shortchanged. And in any case, the bank or the financial entity would always ask for an SLA agreement. Then, of course, you want to let them know where are those areas you've deployed. What kind of significant value did you get from that implementation? How many services? No, not how many services. How many customers have been able to come on board your mobile platform? So all of that sort of gives the customer some level of comfort. And of course, it's very important before you integrate your mobile app to the customer site, you must test the security and reliability. And in so doing, usually for mobile app developers, they always have ethical hackers that help them check the app for vulnerabilities. That must be done. So usually that is done behind the customer. Of course, the customer knows, especially if the customer is talking to a well-established entity, say maybe an InterSwitch or Flutterwave or Paystack. They know that usually for every app or API that is developed, is subjected to several tests to check for vulnerabilities. Then, of course, you have to talk about the support, the back office part of your service. And in as much as the customer sees the customer interfaces with your product from the GUI perspective, there's also the back end that must also be taken care of, which is in terms of so I don't want to say too much of it, but it's important you take care of support, because I don't know some of you, I don't know if you've ever had a time when you try to transfer money, the money leaves your account, but it doesn't get delivered to the recipient. So you have your product must be able to handle to effectively handle disputes. And of course, your pricing, it has to be very clear. It has to be in mutual agreement between yourself and the customer who is going to be consuming your service, because you don't want to be shortchanged. Then, of course, for every time you provide your services, you need to also do a return on, you need to do like a projection. Like when I say a projection, you need to let the customer know for every year how much they would make on that platform. Say, for instance, if it's okay, let me still use the mobile banking. If it's still if it's the mobile banking, you want to tell them that, okay, maybe after 6 months, they probably will have 100,000 or 500,000 users on the platform. And for every time they have, if they have 500,000 users on the platform, for every time the customer does any transaction on that platform, say they might be earning 5 naira or 10 naira. All right, so say they might be earning 10 naira or 5 naira. It's very important you show that projection to the customer that in 6 months, you probably will make 3 million. In a year, you probably will make 10 million, and like that. And also, when you're able to get the necessary buy-in, it's very important you keep that relationship, you build on that relationship, because you want to be able to upsell and cross-sell. Because yes, you want to be able to cross-sell and upsell, and also get the customer to continue using your product, because you want to continue having the recurring revenue the platform earns you. So it's not enough that the customer already has your solution. You have to get them to a point where they keep using your product, and you keep earning the revenue you need to earn on it, and also expand on the existing revenue where you're able to cross-sell and upsell. I don't know if you have any questions. Okay, please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much
Okay.
for your talk. My name is Christian. I would like to find out if there's any physical companies in Nigeria that buy these services. For example, there's a lot of markets still existing that we could build API services for West Africa and for education especially, because like students have been neglected from JAMB to NYSC to WS applicants. Let's say we build a service now, like an API service. Who do we go to sell these are services physically, like in Nigeria?
Okay, so I know I want to be careful. So I know that there are API first companies that acquire APIs that you already have. So it's now going to through the right medium to get it accepted. So I do know that InterSwitch has that arm where I don't know if you've heard of Spark, where people come in and they showcase what they have, and it's more or less like a competition. They evaluate the APIs they get, and after a number of, I think, weeks or months, they come up with a foolproof API solution that they can use, that they can take to the market. So yes, there are API first companies that have API developers that develop APIs that that banks can use. Banks can use financial services. Okay, because of the kind of work I've done, I do know that a lot of the banks outsource API API development to API first companies. So take for example, for mobile banking application, I know that a number of their API development codes were written by API first companies to be able to consume the APIs provided by the API first companies. So there are different types of APIs. You have the transport APIs, you have your Uber, you have Bolt, and of course you also have your SMS. So every time you do a transaction, you probably get a credit or a debit alert. That's API. So API first companies, they develop those SMS APIs, which they sell to the banks. And of course, there's sort of like an arrangement for making revenue on that platform. And you also have, there are different types of APIs. Your you have your transfer APIs, you have your payout APIs, you have APIs for collections, you have APIs that allow you move money from one. So I don't know if you know, recently, usually the medium of using currency, especially when you want to move money within Africa, is usually your prevalent currency within that country. And if you were going to move it to another country, it would be in dollars. But recent, there are APIs that now allow you to move money from your native African country to another country, receiving it in their native currency. And if the customer wanted to receive it in dollars, then of course there's an allowance for it. I don't know if there are any more questions.
Okay, thank you so much for that really amazing session. So now we are going to have another session titled Building Better APIs Together with Postman. Building better APIs together with Postman. So who can guess who our next speaker would be? Hint, he works with Postman and he's one of the organizers. Who can guess? Badebo Bello. Okay, so let's give a warm round of applause as we welcome Badebo Bello on stage for the next session.
Someone else I can go after before I go. All the things I'm saying for that. Should I start speaking or should we go now? I can't do a demo.
What do we do now? Where is your converter? You don't know where it is.
Larry wants to.
Okay, let's start speaking. Let's keep the audience speaking while he gets it.
Should I say?
Praise and bless.
How do you even say it?
Praise and bless.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, apologies for the slight delay. We're trying to get, it's an Apple problem. We're trying to get a converter because I have a demo I want to do. I have very few slides, and a lot of what I want to do is going to be walking you through a demo. And I can't do that without connecting my system to the HDMI cable. So they're trying to get me a converter right now. If you can project. So I have very few slides before my demo, but I'll just move on with it. Then hopefully by the time we get to the part where we have to do a demo, the converter will be here and we'll just move from there. But yeah, for those who were not here earlier in the morning, I'll reintroduce myself because I already did an introduction earlier. My name is Gbadebo Bello. I work as a developer advocate at Postman. How many of us know or use Postman here? How many of us know or use Postman? Okay, that's a lot of hands. Okay, that's a lot of hands, which is really encouraging and good for me. So I'm here to talk about building better APIs together with Postman. And shortly, I'll tell you, and shortly, I'll go into details regarding what that means. Sorry, my screen sort of took over. So I'll just mirror my screen instead. Okay, I apologize for the technical difficulties again. So I'm Gbadebo Bello. I work as a developer advocate at an API company called Postman. Um, I like to tell people that I love food a lot. But when I say that, people think that I'm talking about quantity, but I'm really referring to quality and trying out new cuisines. And I often like to refer to myself as an untrained and unprofessional photographer. Because people tell me I take great pictures, even though I don't think I actually do. But yeah, I have like a DJI Mini. But I have like a DJI Mini 3 drone that I use for aerial photography, and I'm extremely passionate about communities and community building. I've devoted a huge chunk of my time over the last couple of years doing community work. And I also happen to be one of the organizers of this conference. I love to travel and explore new places, and I attached like a couple of pictures of some of my travel adventures recently across like different states to different places. I'd have loved to talk about this, but I don't have time, so I'll just keep that. So yeah, when we think about APIs, oftentimes collaboration is not the first thing that comes to our mind, right? But collaboration is a key and fundamental part of building APIs. You rarely ever have any developer working in isolation. When working in a team and building an API, it's usually you liaising with key stakeholders. It's usually you liaising with key stakeholders and people who are responsible for different things. Either you're liaising with the product manager to understand what's going into the API and how it should respond to certain scenarios. You're working with other engineers to get things built out, or you're working with the technical writers to get like a technical documentation out for that API. So either you're producing or consuming an API, you need to either you are consuming or producing an API, you need to collaborate with external stakeholders. You need to collaborate with external stakeholders. So a lot of times I figured out that developers build APIs for their team instead of build APIs with their team. There's a clear difference between both. Although in both scenarios, collaboration happens, and the collaboration is in quotes, because when you are building APIs for your team, collaboration, there's a lot of friction, there's a lot of bottlenecks. You're not really building the APIs with your team. So I'm going to be giving a scenario, and I'll be using myself and Sadiq. as a use case. So who here knows this guy called Asher Kine? I mean, we're on social media. You know him for his philanthropy and giveaways. So the scenario here is an API as a service, a giveaway API as a service, which is essentially what our company is building. And we'll be doing that giveaway live here while on stage. So I'm an engineering manager at a company called Asher Kind, not Asher Kind, because we are kind and love to give things out. And Sadiq is also collaborating with me on this API as a software engineer at Asher Kind. And we'll be working through this demo together. But we don't have a lapel mic, but I need someone to help me with the microphone because I need to do like a demo. Can someone please volunteer? Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Stephen. Please, you can drop this. So because of my time, I'm going to run through this real quick. So we're collaborating on an API. And when you're collaborating on an API, the first thing is someone has to first start writing the code, right? And then you onboard another engineer. Perhaps you're using GitHub for code collaboration. But GitHub doesn't really work for API collaboration. It works when you're like writing the code, but when you want to collaborate on the API along different things, I'll show you an example of what I mean. So, two scenarios here. When you see the white screen, that's Sadiq. And when you see the black screen, that's me. It's both of us collaborating within Postman. But when you see the black team, that's Sadiq. That's me. And when you see the white team, that's Sadiq. So we go ahead and write our code. You don't have to care about what's in this code. Just know that there are two endpoints. One to request for a giveaway and one to view the list of people who have requested for a giveaway. So I onboard Sadiq to this API, and Sadiq wants to understand what's going on here. And he's like, okay, this is a bunch of code. How do I test this? And I'm like, okay, there's this markdown file that I wrote that I'm using to quickly test things, spending the time that the technical writer comes in to give us a very clear documentation on these different endpoints and what they do. So I go to the markdown file, and I can see that, okay, there's a markdown file here that maybe looks auto-generated, and there's a post request to a giveaway endpoint. There's another get request to a giveaway endpoint. How do I test this? And I'm saying that, oh, there's a call request here. Then I copy this call request. I ensure that my server is running. I copy the call request on the terminal. And I run it. And I'm getting an error. And it's telling me there's something wrong on line position 103. But this JSON looks like it's just 10 lines. It's not 103 lines, right? But it's at position 103, and the error is very obvious, isn't it? Then I have to spend a couple of minutes trying to figure out where that error is. I'll fix that and try it again before I'm able to get maybe a 200 OK response. But let's do this a different way. Let's do this within the Postman interface. So let's say while I was testing this API and while I was building it out, I'm building different. Sorry, are you able to hear me? So let's say while I was building this API, I'm in a Postman, a very familiar interface for a lot of you who have used Postman. And I'm in something called a Postman workspace, which I believe a lot of people here are familiar with. I immediately have the option of creating a new request, either an HTTP request, a GraphQL request, a gRPC request, a WebSocket, a socket IO, or an MQTT request. But because this is an HTTP API, I'm going to select HTTP as my option. And I've already pre-configured something called environments, where I'm putting all my environment variables here for this demo. And it's the same thing I'll do when I'm collaborating with Sadiq so that it doesn't have to set that up himself. He understands the different environments I need, and he just has to fill in the variables. So I have a base URL, endpoint. I have a base URL here, and I have a /giveaway endpoint. And I hit send. My server is not running. And I hit send. Okay, this is /get/giveaways. That's my bad. Then I hit send. And I get that first moment of truth. I'm getting a 200 OK response, which should ideally make every developer happy. And because I'm getting a 200 OK response, it means that my time to first call just reduced from spending 5-10 minutes in debugging a call URL to a couple of seconds where I just have to click a button and get an API response to test this. Then I want to take this a step further and validate that I'm always getting a 200 OK response. So I go to the script tab and I have two options, a pull request script and a post response script. So the post response script runs on my API response. And I'm thinking, okay, how do I author a script here? I have to write Postman script. But I have an AI assistant that can help me with that called Postbot. Think of it as your AI companion in Postman. Then I go to Postbot and I tell it, write two tests script, one to test the status code, and one to test the response body. You can see that I have a couple of typo here, but Postbot is smart and it generates the test script for me live. And because I requested for only 2 test scripts, Postbot is going to do just that and generates just 2 test scripts for me. Now you can see that I have a test script for checking if the status code is 200, and I have another one that is verifying that the response body is what is expected. If I come to the test tab here, you can see that I have 2 tests, and both of the tests are passing. So now I can go ahead and save this request. I can call it get giveaways and save it in an Azure in a kind collection. Now I've saved this request in a kind collection, but I want us to do something here on stage. Remember, we are doing a giveaway, right? And everyone listening to this session right now can participate in this giveaway because I'll be giving out this hoodie I'm wearing, a very cool water bottle that people who have been at the postman stand there has been requesting for. I'm going to be giving that out on stage as well. And I have this very good graphic novel. So this linked to an Airtable firm that you, and we are going to randomly select a winner here live on stage while collaborating with Sadiq. So I'm going to be leaving this up for 30 seconds. So 10 more seconds. So the bit.ly link is bit.ly/postman@APIConf. bit.ly/postman@APIConf. So I'll have to swipe. I'm sorry, but I have to swipe now. So you can get the link from someone beside you who was able to scan. Now remember, I created my collection. I wrote some test scripts, and now I have a request that is returning a 200 OK in this collection that is already saved. But this is just me testing out what I have built. Now I'm onboarding my guy, Sadiq, into this collection, and he wants to collaborate with me on it. So I'm like, okay, you need to add an endpoint to do this. And I share this with him. And I'm not just sharing the code with him on GitHub, but I'm also sharing the collection with him. Now to do that, I would invite him to this workspace. I would make him a viewer, so he's not able to modify the assets in this workspace, but he's only able to view. And I'll show you why in a couple of minutes. So I type his email. Because he loves me so much, he has my name in his email. Then I'll click send invite to him. Then he's going to get the invite shortly. And I already got a notification here that's, let me reload this. I already got a notification here that he has gotten an invite to this workspace. And now you can see that this collection has appeared on Sadiq's end, but it has a padlock, which means it doesn't have editorials. But similar to how developers collaborate on GitHub, when you go to a GitHub repository, the first thing you do is you want to fork that repository, make updates to your forked version of the repository, and push that by making a pull request to the repository which you forked it from. So Sadiq is going to come and create a fork of this collection. Okay, so this is taking a while. So he gives this a label, Sadiq Akintobi's forks. I'm going to be forking this to the same workspace, just so it's convenient. Or I'd fork it to a different workspace, that's fine as well. Then I'll fork the relevant environment as well, and I'll click the fork button. Now, this is similar to how you fork a GitHub repository. Sodiq now has this kind collection in his own workspace, and he can make updates to it however he wants. So the first thing he notices is that we are getting a list of data from people, and he's just able to click run and get a 200 OK. I mean, there should be an authorization step for that, but we currently do not have that. So he goes to the code. And adds some code to add like an authorization step. So there's a bearer token requested. He sets the right environment. And it comes to authorization. There's no authorization set here. So when I click send, I'm getting an error code, a 401 unauthorized code, which is what is expected. Then the authorization method selects a bearer token. And because we have some variables already set, we select the auth key. He saves it. Then he clicks send. Now it's getting a 200 OK response that we initially got before, but now it's an extra authorization step. So he has contributed to this API in a way by making it more secure, and I've been able to onboard into it seamlessly. Now he wants to update the source of it. So when you create a fork and you make an update, what do? You create a pull request, right? So now I'm creating a pull request. I'll call this authorization. I won't think too hard about the description. And he can add a reviewer. He can add me as a reviewer. Then he'll create a pull request. Now you can see that similar to how you can see the Git diff on GitHub, you can see the Git diff of your API here. And if you had changed the request body, would easily see that here. So on my hand, I'd have gotten a notification for this pull request. I can click view pull request. And I can merge it. Now this has been merged to the collection in which it has initially been forked from. Now imagine if there were 10 people working on this request and all 10 of them are forking it. They can all create their separate pull requests, add new functionality to that API, and merge it back to the upstream collection. So if I go back here and let's say the authorization step, it had like a comment around it. It's like, why are we adding an auth key here? Let's use something called Postman Vault. You can choose to add a comment by highlighting this. Okay, so they're saying my time is up, but I'm just going to briefly run through. I'm just briefly going to run through this. I'm just going to briefly recap everything I've done because I'm out of time. So initially, when we started with we having a code and we having some documentation in some doc.mv file. And we had to like copy the call request, run that on the terminal, and that wasn't running. Then we moved into a Postman collection, created an HTTP request, moved all of our work there. We're able to invite a collaborator to that collection. We're able to onboard that collaborator. I was able to fork the collection, make changes to it, create a pull request, and I was able to match the pull request he created. So I'm not going to run through all of the sites. So a lot of the examples I've shown now is how you can collaborate with your team internally with Postman, but you can also do it externally with other partners using like the partner, using our partner workspaces or using the public API network. So if you'd want to learn more about some of the things that I've spoken about today, and if you'd want to continue this demo, please come behind there to the Postman booth. I'll be happy to like have a conversation with you and walk you through some of this demo that I was supposed to do live on stage. There'll be a dedicated time for us to do that eventually. And for those who have filled it, I have your email, and we randomly select someone and send you an email during the event. So you actually be getting the things I promised. That was not a scam, but just that we ran out of time. So thank you very much.
All right, please, once again, a round of applause for Mabel. Please, if you don't want me to be standing beside you when you are speaking, to the next speakers, please stick to your time. I know the ball will say otherwise, but thank you, Postman. Please, can everybody say thank you, Postman? They are part of the reason we are gathered here. So the next we are having is another sponsor session. And this is Jobberman. Yes, Jobberman. Do you want a Japa? Who wants Japa here? You have Japa plans? Or your pasture is green enough? It's green like my jacket. Is your pasture green enough? Or you want to Japa? All right. So we are going to be having Alaba Osho. She's the talent operations at Jobberman. It's like I'm jobless. I'm looking for work. Why am I saying Jobberman since Global Man? And it's right here. I'm reading it here. Global Man. Apologies, please. Global Man. Alaba Osho is a talent operations at Global Man. She's crafting impactful users' experience through compelling words, passionate about weaving narratives that guides users seamlessly through digital products. Anyways, what I want to hear today is about Japa. How can I leave this country? Please, with a round of applause, make welcome Alaba Osho from Global Man. Thank you very much.
For murdering our names 3 times. Hi, everyone. Good day. I'm sorry we're actually Global Man, not Jobberman. So I just wanted to put that out there. Where do I press? So thank you very much, everyone. I'm sure everyone in this hall might have heard the term Japa. It's been a buzzword for the past few years now. But at Global Man, our major aim is to make relocation seamless for tech professionals, right? So Japa, as we all know, let's face it, it can be really, really stressful, time-consuming, complex, and even if you don't know what you're trying to achieve, it can be really, really frustrating and confusing for you, right? And as tech professionals, we all know that you guys can be very busy with work and trying to Japa as well, using that as well, interfering with your work as well can be really, really stressful. And at Global Man, we're just trying to make sure that this is seamless for you, it's easy to go about, and it's easy to do. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening. Okay. So why choose Global Man, right? Like I said, we help tech professionals relocate with ease. And every country wants to be at the forefront of technological advancement these days. And so they're opening their doors, they're opening their country doors to tech professionals with this expertise to help, grow their countries, help them create innovative products. And, with all these opportunities, tech professionals can, take advantage of it. And that's what we're trying to do. So why should you choose Global Man? We offer like personalized guidance throughout the relocation journey. So it's going to be like an end-to-end process, right? from the beginning to the end. We are with you every step of the way. We make sure that your goals are achieved, your dream come true, and you go to your desired country through GlobalMan, right? Like I said, there's detailed strategy for your application, end-to-end, like I said, post-relocation assistance, right? That comes along with the end-to-end process as well. When you get to your desired country, we can help you with accommodation, job search, and even settling in basically when it comes to, settling into this new country. Okay, sorry. So currently, we have over 12 plus visa pathways available, right? To the UK through the Global Visa Talent Technician route, the United States, Portugal, Malta, Germany, and Spain, right? All these countries here currently offer tech professionals, direct visa pathways that you can actually explore. So what are our clients saying about us? Some of the names on this screen you might be familiar with. So we've actually helped people through the Global Talent Visa route as well to, relocate to countries. Like I said, we work with any of these countries. So you don't have to necessarily go through the UK. You can just choose anyone you're interested in and you can go to that. So an interesting fact about GlobalMan is that we have a 98% success rate. And what does this mean is that you're assured of success when you work with GlobalMan, right? And that's something we are really, really proud about. And that's something we are really proud about. And so if you're ready to go global, if you're considering relocating in the next few months, or you want more information, you want more detailed, informed, or what does this mean about you, you can visit us at our booth just for more information, or you can also scan this barcode to get more information. Please, if anyone has any question, let me know. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon. So I just wanted to know what's the base requirement for a dev that's trying to travel, or for a tech professional that's trying to travel with GlobalMan. Like, what do I need to have done?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very good question. So, like I said, these countries, right, everyone has their own requirements, different eligibility for different countries, right? So the good thing is that when you come to us, right, I really can put different, 6 different countries, right? And there are detailed eligibility requirements for a candidate, right? But if you come to us, I give you in depth of like what you actually need. And even if you don't have what you need currently, we can help you build a robust application to prepare you to help you travel. Does that make sense? Thank you very much. Any other questions, please? Okay. So our booth is currently there. You can come and speak to us. We'll be happy to listen to your question. Thank you very much, guys. I'll carry it.
For our next session, we are going to have a topic, the power of observability in API-driven applications. Can you hear me now? Thank you. So our next session, the topic is the power of observability in API-driven applications. And for this session, we are going to have Bolaji Ayodeji from API Toolkit talk to us about this. Bolaji is a software engineer, content creator. He's a teacher and a developer advocate. He's also an innovative technology professional with progressive IT, web engineering, data, embedded systems, developer relations, and all of that. So please let's give a round of applause for Bolaji as he comes on stage. A round of applause. A round of applause. Let's hear it. Nobody's clapping from here. Please let's give a round of applause for our speaker. Thank you.
This doesn't work. Hi, everyone. So I've been speaking to many persons today. I probably might have spoken to you. If I've spoken to you today, can I see your hands up? Please, don't do this to me. I just said I've spoken to many persons. Just few hands. Okay. Nice to meet you all. My name is Bolaji Ayodeji. This doesn't work. Does it work? Okay. I hope you're 200 okay. You are not? What's happening? 500? You can't hear me? Okay, is it better now? Sorry, I'm not good with mics. You're not 200 okay. What's up? 404. But I can see you. Are you invisible? 500. Okay. Anyways. All right. Nice to meet you all. My name is Bolaji Ayodeji. Don't mind all the things they said. I'm just a guy, so we'll just skip all that part. Okay. This is interesting. What's going on? Okay. So let's start with some questions. When was the last time you checked your blood pressure? On Sunday, last week. Okay, keep the answer in your mind. There's a reason why I'm asking. And who here has had to make like third-party API integrations? Few hands. Okay. And what was the greatest issue with that third-party integration? I need one person to just speak. You can just scream it out. Sorry? Docs. Documentation. What else? Sorry? Trust. Trust issues. Okay. And so what's one word you have for those who sell third-party APIs? Sorry? Scrap. Scam. That's the word you have for them. Okay, that's serious. Anyway, so yeah, this is not really working so well. But I asked many of these questions so we can... Sorry, can you control it from there? Okay, so thank you. So I asked many of these questions because generally it's a thing when we say that... It's a thing when we say that when it comes to software and everything, every tiny issue, every tiny error is very critical in like the business part of everything, right? So I'm sure many of you work close to the money, business and all that stuff. Every tiny issue can impact that. And generally, if you've worked in, what's it called, in the e-commerce space, for example, you hear something like, don't touch the checkout. You mostly don't find people innovating that part because that's the money part. And that's the same thing when it comes to software engineering and, APIs generally speaking. And when we have a scenario where tiny things can break many things, it means we need to like employ many strategies, some of which many people have spoke about today and you're probably familiar with already. So today I wanted to talk about the new parts and see how we can solve that problem. So generally we'll be talking about API monitoring and observability, right? And I want to show you how you can better identify, reproduce, and fix some of the issues you're having with your APIs. I have this stats here from like Software Global Code Time Report. And basically they say that developers spend 52 minutes per day during their normal week on writing code, just 52 minutes. So if they spend 52 minutes per day, where else do they spend their other time doing? So I don't know for you, how many minutes do you spend per day writing code, just code itself? Can we have 1 hour, please? Hello? Hello? Sorry, I didn't mention earlier, there's a part in my bio that says I'm a teacher, so I've worked with students very well. Can we have 1 house, please? Okay, thank you very much. So if developers spend 52 minutes of their time writing code only, so what else do they do with the remaining, 7 hours? People have preempted my slides already. Next slide, please. So, meetings, debugging, code reviews, documentation. Maybe sometimes you even have to wait like 30 minutes for everything to build, Abby. Sometimes. And then sometimes you also have to troubleshoot. Next slide, please. Sorry? Copy and paste. But that's supposed to be fast. Okay. So, engineering friction basically is the greatest threat to development and product success. Many of the issues you have is just because of many friction at different points, right? And this is the problem. I asked a question earlier. Some of you mentioned some issues you're experiencing with building APIs. And this is a tweet from Simon. It says, Monday released a new version of their API. He had a few breaking changes, and he's currently doing blah, 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 and all of that stuff. The key word here is breaking changes. I'm sure many of you have seen this. No one knows this thread. FinTech 101. You didn't see it. Are you sure you're from planet Earth? I need to know if I'm amongst aliens. But yeah, Eden made that last year. And then we had like a bunch of responses. Some funny, of course, people sharing their experiences with working with third-party APIs. And this is one from Startland. It says, invest the time, efforts to implement features that would make your platform resilient to failures, internal and external. Systems will break. You want to minimize the pain needed to recover and get things working again. Another one says your platform will indirectly monitor other third-party systems. Be prepared to babysit partner systems because you need them. Someone mentioned trust issues here, so that's one of those kind of trust issues. And this is one that was the most popular, the 12 Rules of APIs by Adesegun, works at InterSwitch. I think someone from InterSwitch is here. No one has seen this also? You've seen it? Okay, so I'm just going to highlight 6 and 7, 11 and 12. I don't know what's going on. Okay. So, third-party API integrations and express pathway to insanity. Error handling would be like 70% of your code and documentation. Implement login metrics and tracing. Things will go wrong. It is what you do after that matters. And the last one says what? So please, I think this is a feedback for API Conf organizers. Next year, you need a medic in the door. So as people are coming in, they check their BP before they come in. And why this is so is just because of the many issues you have when you work with third-party APIs. It's not reliable. And then you have stuff like this. You begin to ask yourself this question. Was it us? Was it them? Which of them? Because sometimes you have multiple fallbacks for just one particular stuff. And then, sometimes you share those little tears. And basically what this means is that at many points you have breaking changes. Something breaks, you don't even know what broke. No one tells you until your customer starts screaming at you. And then you have like issues. And the funny thing about this is that the issue is not just with one fallback. You have multiple fallbacks that you rank. If this fails, use this and use that. And then you have to deal with bugs, errors, handled and unhandled errors. I'm sure we know what that would mean. A handled error would be an error that you maybe use your try-catch like resolve. An unhandled error is one you did not expect, you didn't catch it, so it can break and then you don't know what happened. And then you have latency issues. And then you have docs issues. Something has changed on the API, the doc says otherwise. And there are many guys here whose product do this. So if you're here and your product is like this, please, do better, thank you, do better. But I won't call names. I want to go home in peace. So yeah, this is the core thing in the world we're talking about today. Systems will break. I was speaking with someone earlier, and we're talking about how these things are not perfect. But the whole aim is that you want to minimize the pain needed to recover when things get wrong, and then get them working back again. I think the first keynote speaker spoke about in the, I can't remember now, we're talking about how to ensure your system comes back and all of that stuff. And this is like, in general, what I would say the solution is. Now, many of you do stress testing, you do unit testing and all of that stuff. And those are great for catching errors before it gets into production, right? You already can preempt what can go wrong and you try to resolve them. But it's not enough. What if something sneaks into production? What if you already preempted some tests and then something else, happens and there's more room for you to catch more information from like your live data and see what's going on in production. And here's an example. So say, for example, you have this payload. You rely on a user ID, right? So on the front end, for example, you need to render something. You're relying on this user ID to render the logic. If the backend has some issue and this guy is not there, you won't know, right? And your application would not work effectively because that's missing. So probably you might have some loader just rolling and then that would affect your users in that scenario. But is there an error? The payload returned successfully, right? It just did not have that. Take this other example where, I don't know if you've all worked with like date libraries. So you have a library that initially was like 1 month, day, year, and then it switched, right? In one scenario, this particular birthday would work in both scenarios because it's going to be January 1st in both scenarios. But imagine you have this. So in month initially, this would mean what? July 12th. On day would mean what? And then you have your users wondering what's happened. These are stuff we call silent errors. You wouldn't really know that these things have happened because it doesn't really break anything. And that's what we call breaking changes generally. And basically the solution to these issues, as we've seen earlier, is that one, you want to have efficient error handling. You want to be sure you can handle errors even on the development side. Make sure everything works, write your test. And the most important part is you want to monitor your APIs. And that's what we call API monitoring and observability. You want to work on like what we call application performance management. Figure out how things are working on your API, and then empower your customer support teams. And I'll show you why I mentioned that. You can't fix what you don't know, right? And that's a very key thing I want you to take from this talk, because the entire aim, as we've seen, is you need to log many things, you need to track many things so you can know what's going on, know when it goes wrong, and know how to fix it. And I mean, there are many monitoring and observability platforms in the market today. Each of them have their own unique offerings, right? I'm sure you know some of them. But for the sake of our discussion today, and so that I can feed my wife and kids, I'll speak about this one. It's API Toolkit. And we're an API-first monitoring and observability platform for engineering teams and customer support teams. I'll show you why this is cool. I've spoken to some persons today already, and they already understand how great this is. Basically, we track all your live user requests that comes in and out of your application for both internal and external APIs. That includes both your own APIs and third-party APIs. And with these, we can analyze those requests, we catch bugs and breaking changes, while also tracking all the errors and exceptions that happen. So, I mean, this is quite different from the others. We're the only one in the market that does this, breaking changes. So what that means is, if your API was expecting XYZ fields before, because we've been tracking your data, we can tell you that we expected this last, and then now it has changed. And you can use that information to like figure out how to fix many things, right? And then we have different alert systems to help you use that information to like fix many things. And this is what it looks like, for example, a very beautiful dashboard. But basically when you integrate, you can get this like analytics charts, see like your performance data, filter based on status codes and all that cool stuff. And nice stuff, right? Nice, right? Is it nice? Please say yes. Thank you. All right, and then we have a log explorer. This is basically where you see every single request. Now, by the way, we value security so much so you can redact sensitive data. We don't get them. You hide them, and then we just get client redacted. Every single request comes here. You can filter your logs and then see what's going on. And when you expand each of these logs, you can create like a public page and share it with your customer support team. Some of our customers, some issue happened. The engineering team didn't need to fix it because someone on the support team just came here, saw what was happening, saw where the issue was coming from, what user, what browser, and all of that stuff. Stuff you would need to ask the user and say, what were you doing? You don't have to ask what were you doing anymore. You can tell yourself here, and then, okay, you can do all that whole filtering thing based on your method and figure all of that stuff. And this is what our public page looks like, and it's a very nice public page. And we're working on, many of these things. And then you get like all your outgoing integrations, which are your third-party systems. For example, you can see like Paystack here and a bunch of the others, and then you can see what's going on there. Because third-party guys lie a lot. Someone mentioned that trust issues, they will lie to you, right? So you don't need them anymore. You can see what's going on. And then, we return all the changes and errors. We show you what's going on, what has broken, what has changed. What was it before, and what is it now? And because we have all this data, oh, that's true. So we also have API testing. You can run test assertions and synthetic monitors to test your API and say, does it return this particular? Just an add-on, a very nice feature for you to use. And more importantly also, because we have your data, we automatically generate an open API Swagger for you. And what this means is that your docs engineers will be much more happier now, because if something changes, they know. They don't need to wait for, what's that guy who spoke just now? What's your name? What's your name? Ahmed. So they don't need to wait for Ahmed to tell them that something has broken. They will know themselves. And you can connect this to like your Slack workspace and then have your alerts run through all of that systems. Okay, this is nice. So API Toolkits is built by staff-level software engineers. Our founder has a lot of experience, and these are people who have lost 100K words of orders, more than $2 million, due to API problems that many of you face. So we really understand what these issues are, and we're solving them one feature at a time. And we're building this for the community and also relying on feedback to like see how this thing works. So if you're building an API-driven application on the web, IoT, mobile, anywhere, and you basically just want to observe API usage data, we don't do infrastructure monitoring and all that, API first, and that's what that means. Then you should consider using API toolkits. If you want to, figure out more about, you can check out docs, apitoolkit.io/docs. I have a QR code somewhere at the end also. If you want to scan this to see all the resources, I'll just give like a few seconds for you to scan. Are you still with me? Are you sure? Okay. Oh, you're still scanning, sorry. Or is it a picture? You want me to smile? Okay. All right. So if you'd like to chat more about your API monitoring and observability needs, I'll be somewhere behind there. For now, I'm still 200 okay, but probably I'll be 502 soon. So please find me. And yeah, thank you very much. You can connect with me anywhere. Thank you very much. All right.
Hello, hello. Yes, thank you very much, Balaji. Yeah, you can just leave that there. Yes. All right, once again, a round of applause for Balaji from API Toolkit. All right, thank you very much. Right now, we are moving to the panel session. But before we go, I have a quick question for one or two people. For one person. And I'm going to the back because those people were just talking since. So I'm coming for you people tonight. I'm going to the back. You want to? Nah. Okay, I'm going to the back. So Bolaji talked about, I'm coming. Bolaji you talked about solutions for API issues, right? And he mentioned how many?
10. I think about 10. 10.
She said 10. Solutions for API issues, 10. You were not listening. You see, ba? That's the example. Okay, so I'm going to take it forward now. Because those back people don't used to, they don't used to listen. We start. Nah, that's rude. That's rude. All right, yeah, the same question. Okay. So tell me the solutions to API issues. How many did he mention? And mention all of it. We don't want to waste time. We are ready. Do you know? API issues.
API issues, documentation, like there's okay, solutions.
We are going to take that next time. So, gone. All right, so we are going to the panel session right now. And I'm going to be calling on the moderator that will be handling this panel session. Okay. Quick one. All right. So the topic for this panel session is navigating the complexities of regulatory frameworks with APIs to ensure compliance and protect customer data. All right, and we have a lot of phenomenal speakers on the panel. But the person that will be anchoring this session is Amaka Eke. She is a seasoned back-end developer and a passionate tech enthusiast known for her insightful perspective and dynamic approach to technology and innovation. So with a lot of claps, Thank you, please. Give it for Amaka Eke.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're enjoying yourself. I hope you've learned 18 or 2. Okay, so I'll be anchoring the panel session and I'll be calling on the panelists. So the first person on the panel session is Wale Adeniji. Wale Adeniji is the head of technology at Fincra. Wale is an accomplished engineering manager with over 8 years of experience in fintech, health tech, and mobility tech. Please give a warm round of applause to Wale Adeniji. So the second panelist is Ernest Nnamdi. He's a software developer relations engineer at Morph. Ernest is a seasoned software developer specializing in developer relations and front-end engineering with a keen focus on building developer communities and crafting intuitive user interfaces. Please give another round of applause for Ernest. It's not easy. The third panelist is Enoch Osareren. He's a senior software engineer at Seamless HR. Enoch is a distinguished senior software engineer. He's a product leader and entrepreneur with over 8 years of experience in the technology industry. Please, if your hands are not busy, keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. The next panelist is Sule Balogun Olarewaju. He's a software engineer at Stilo. Sule Balogun Olarewaju is a software engineer recognized as a global talent for his skills and contributions to the tech industry. Please give another warm round of applause for the panelists. Okay, so we'll be asking them questions and they'll be giving us their answers. Please, if you have your writing pen, if you have any pad, bring it out because you're going to learn so much from them. So the first question will be a general question. Everybody will answer the question. So there is a mic here. So the first question is, what recent difficulties have you encountered in aligning the API frameworks of your respective companies with local regulations?
Yeah, so for me, I work in a gift card company and Okay, so for me, I work in a gift card company and not like the traditional payments that we used to do. It's basically based on gift card. And again, gift card can also be used for money laundering, right? So what we basically have to do is that we need to like audit all requests. So compared to maybe industries whereby you just like maybe audit your payload and stuff, like we are very, very near on what we do. And because we also work with store brands like Amazon, Uber, and the likes, they don't want to hear stories, right? So what we basically do is you audit everything, including the request, the headers, and also the response as well too, such that you have like every detailed information as to how money is going into the account and also how money is going out. So that is how we basically handle such here.
A round of applause for that answer.
Thank you, Larry. But I will diversify a bit. So I will come to our local, and I will use a practical example. Like, I don't know, a lot of you have used Flutterwave BVN data, BVN record to fetch BVN. So I'll come local. Recently, CBN came up to say, for you to be able to get the BVN data of individuals, they must give consent. I don't know if anyone here. Great. That's a very practical example because initially you can register with Flutterwave and then be able to pull data, right? But now there was a new regulation, an updated regulation from CBN to say, you know what? Before you can get the consent, you can get the data, the BVN data of a customer, you must get consent. So the user must give you consent, right? So now this is a new regulation. Imagine that you already have your platform ready. You already integrated Flutterwave to pull information. But now this is a new one. So now how you regulate that is you building your infrastructure in such a way that it is scalable for you to be able to adapt new compliance regulation. I don't know if that makes sense. I just want to bring it down to the local. So that's the way I would handle it. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer.
Okay, so I work for a blockchain company, and
Sorry. Please, can we have one house? Please, can we have one house? Thank you very much.
all right, I work for a blockchain company, and anyone that knows blockchain in this country will know that the blockchain industry and the regulatory bodies are at loggerheads, and we are no strangers to regulatory issues. For instance, I think sometime in 2022 we came up with this like API to help people do like on ramp, off ramp. Basically, you should be able to like withdraw money from any blockchain protocol straight into your bank account. And then we got a letter immediately from SEC. So months later, we went back and we built a product using like Social Connect. With this one, you should be able to like transact using your phone number. So using your phone number, you should be able to send money to someone in Kenya and someone in Uganda or wherever around the world. And what happened again? We got another letter from the SEC. So how we basically go about navigating things like that is basically partnering with the local bodies, because there are people on ground here who do carry out activities like this. So we ended up partnering with Kotami Pay. We ended up partnering with people like Bitmama to help with like local off-ramping here in the country. So I guess the one thing we did learn is we can't solve Nigerian problems basically from San Francisco.
Thank you very much. A round of applause.
Yeah. All right. So it's actually very challenging, honestly, to keep up with the constant changes of regulatory requirements. For everybody that has been in the space, it's just like a summary of all they've said. Regulatory requirements keep changing. As in, you can wake up tomorrow and see a circular from CBN, for example, that there's a certain requirement needed for you to be able to process payments. I work for a payment company, payment processing company, for example, and these are some of the things that are like challenges that we actually face. So what I'm actually trying to say is, for all of these challenges, they do exist. And for the fact that the regulatory requirements are very much unstable, you can just wake up one day, one circular has come out. And if you keep on doing what you are doing, you will see yourself defaulting what the regulators are actually doing. And you know what that is. They can actually come for your licenses, come for your certifications, crumble your business. So you have to like make sure that at every single point in time, you are really much up to date with all of the recent and new announcements from regulatory compliance bodies, and then you ensure that you are aligned with them as the requirements actually come out. So it's the fast pace and the instability kind of that is present within the regulatory bodies. Not only CBN, we have a lot of them. We have NDPR, for example. They too come with their own regulatory requirements that you have to like comply with. So catching up with them is a very difficult challenge, but it's very much achievable.
Thank you. Still hold on for me. Still hold on for me. Okay, so the next question is for Wale. Wale, how can startups in the tech ecosystem remain compliant without stifling innovation?
Okay, so that's actually a very smart question, though. In as much as we know that regulators are there to actually regulate and put control into the activities of not necessarily fintechs now, startups, basically. And we know that sometimes these regulatory requirements could seem as if they're like anti-innovation sometimes. But we know that it's actually for the best. What I usually do and what I usually recommend is while building any solution, whatever, for example, you have to like, from the get-go, put into consideration what the regulatory requirements are and build from scratch. You don't have to wait to build your solution and then say, okay, I'm ready to go to the market. Then you now see that CBN is telling you that if you don't have this particular license, you can't do this. Or with this particular license, this is the extent of what you can do, and all sorts. So it all starts from the scratch. if you want to ensure that your regulatory requirements is not being that you don't go against them, and then you still want to maintain the innovative trend that you want to bring into the market, you have to like build with the regulatory requirements in mind from scratch. For example, let's say NDPR covers you, for example. You have to, like, from the scratch, know how to protect the data of your customers, know how to protect the data of your merchants and whosoever it is that is actually depositing data with you. For securities, for example, ISO 27001, PCI DSS, while designing your solution from scratch is when you should actually have it in mind that I have to have stringent encryption modules in place. I have to ensure that my security
crypto and digital company navigating API compliance to ensure secure and seamless integration with emerging technologies and regulatory frameworks.
So, how some partnerships. But then again, that's also how we can do so really funding we partner with firms like Navex, we partner with firms like Thomson Reuters, and what they do is they basically provide compliance, they provide policy management, and they also provide like trainings for the people working at blockchain companies, but also the people at the top of these blockchain companies. For KYC and AML regulations, AML is anti-money laundering laws. For KYC and AML regulations, we partner with firms like Onfido, we partner with firms like Jumio, and basically what they do is help with identity management. They also help with ensuring that money laundering activities are not being carried out on our infrastructure or on our products, basically. And every company also has like their own internal suspicious activity reporting system, where we also look out for activities that we feel like are criminal, or also ensure that we are complying with whatever laws of the land based on where a person is based. And I'll give you an example rather than keep saying compliance. So if you wanted to use a platform like Centrifuge, and Centrifuge is a platform that tokenizes like real estate or tokenizes treasury bill, or basically you can invest in any reward asset anywhere in the world. Now, if you wanted to use Centrifuge and you're American or based in America, you have to be a registered investor. You have to be an accredited investor. So if you show up to the platform, they'll require you to put in your registration numbers. They will require you to put in the details that the government knows you by. But meanwhile, if you're Nigerian, the details change. The requirements change to things like your BVN or things like NIN or passports. So you could see that there's like a massive shift in like requirements. Anybody here in this hall can use Centrifuge. All you have to do is just upload your ID. But if this were in the US per se, not everyone here can be able to use that platform. They will have to first go register with the US SEC before they could use platforms like that. So we have our own internal teams that ensures that we are complying with the laws of each land, and also we are looking out for activities we feel that are suspicious. We also what happened to the Binance CEO. He had to leave because they found that Binance was complicit in money laundering. Right, he may have not been part of it personally, but it did happen while he was CEO of Binance. That is why even Binance has their own internal team that monitors money laundering activities or suspicious activities, despite the fact that they have partnerships with firms like Onfido and Jumio that do these things for them externally.
Thank you very much. Please, a warm round of applause for that answer. Please, can we stop the side talks, please, so we can hear what the panelists are saying? Thank you so much. So the next question is for Enoch. What measures have companies like Seamless HR taken to align their API development with NDPR standards?
Thank you for the question. Actually, a very nice question. I think my colleague here, Wale, has already mentioned some regulatory frameworks that startups need to follow. So, a company like Seamless HR, what we do, first of all, we are OSI certified, right? And Seamless HR is not just, we are headquartered in Nigeria, but we are not just a Nigerian company. We are now in some few countries in Africa, and we are looking like at going beyond. So what we do, first of all, we, if you know OSI, OSI is an international standard for the framework where you abide to basically. So, but what we do, we don't only abide, or we are regulated by the NDPRO. We are also regulated by an international standard in such a way that we do regular, number one, we do regular assessments on our data to ensure that we are still on that same guideline. Number two, what we do very secure encryption of data. Number three, what we do secure data transmission between services, between APIs, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever you're doing, we are putting this in our mindset when we are building. We have these frameworks that we follow, right? These are just basics for building an application, building API, building a system, building a service, or whatever you want to build, right? When you have this framework, it sort of helps us shape our data security. And also, there's an important point I want to point out. When you have consumers that you are servicing, you have clients that you are servicing, you want to be transparent about how you handle their data. For example, like Seamless HR, we consume a lot of data from our clients. What does that mean? We have a lot of clients that has a lot of employees, for example. These are a lot of data that we consume. So we need to be very transparent to our clients, consumers, about how we handle their data. This sort of build trust with consumers, build trust with our clients, right? So you need to be able to, tell them, you need to be able to show to them, you need to be able to let them visualize, be transparent about how you handle them. And also, we have external bodies, internal and external bodies. One of the external bodies is the OSI. Internal bodies, we have internal security teams that handles these systems, check them out to make sure that they conform with these regulations. Right.
Thank you so much. A warm round of applause for him. So this question goes to Olariwaju. What automated tools do gift card companies like Tilo and blockchain companies use to ensure ongoing regulatory compliance?
Okay, thank you for the question. So for gift card companies, or maybe other companies too that probably are building, so we can basically use like API management tools. So for API management tools, we have like Postman. Postman is not just testing endpoints. We also have other features like mock servers, API documentations, like test runners. You can actually schedule monitors as well. So all this would ensure that we are aligning with the GDPR standard. So the GDPR standard is just a standard across the EU that we have to follow before we are like building for people across multiple continents. So we also have like under the API management tools, we also have like the AWS API management as well that most people who build with AWS basically use. We also have for the IBM as well, IBM API Connect. We also have the Azure API management. So another one is like the transaction management. So if you are basically building around gift card or blockchains, like I said, this is a very, very sensitive industries. So you need to like, outside of you logging informations and making sure that, informations are actually present, you also want to like go extra mile to ensure that your clients' informations are properly stored, I mean. So for instance, now, if you are maybe seeing transactions from a different IP address, you need to first pen that transaction, then reach out to the client to say, okay, how are we going to handle this? Also, transactions of huge amounts, for instance, gift card, like we are going to obviously flag it to say, you cannot redeem this gift card now. Maybe you can just give us maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. So once that kind of information comes, we get an alert, and then we can actually reach out to certain bodies who are maybe Uber or Amazon to say, okay, are you going to let us authorize this? Also, transactions of maybe different currencies as well. So we basically process transaction in different currencies. So if you are seeing a transaction from a different region that is not attached to your currency, we want to basically flag that, for instance, to say, okay, once this is ready, we can just revert back to you. All these are ways whereby we can ensure that our clients' informations are well safe and stored. We also have so if you maybe know that compliance is a huge thing for you, you can actually outsource this to trusted third-party bodies as well. So they will come in with their own software. They can come in to say, okay, how often do you want us to come in to maybe help you audit your system? So if you maybe pay them, they can come in once in a while, like my company does. So we basically come into the system, and then they can actually flag some things for you, whereby we now prioritize as well. Also, the last thing is for you as maybe engineers to say, okay, vulnerability is also a thing. We basically hear of latest releases. There's a reason for latest releases, right? So it's because they want to maybe patch in some things in the existing software. So so for instance, software hackers for now, the bad ones will basically be out here looking for vulnerability lapses for them to inject into your system to maybe penetrate or get something done. So you need to be up to date. So there's a version of maybe PHP coming up later this year. You want to maybe update to those versions and then read the releases as well, which are very, very important. So thanks.
Thank you so much for these questions that you've answered. So I know you guys have questions, but please, we can only take one question. Anybody? Okay, please, come ask your question.